10 applications because people couldn't come for various reasons. So in trying to like be respectful of both time and also kind of like giving people an opportunity to sort of like come learn more about it, what I'm going to try this year is doing like 15-minute meetings just with me directly, so I can like talk to them about why they're interested, make sure they really understand sort of what the program is, how you can grow and build into it more, just to kind of have a little bit more of that like one-on-one touch points with them. And then hopefully once we get to the point of the first meeting, engage more of those students than previously had the past year, have a more solid number of the class council, and then kind of work with them at that point to keep them connected. So fingers crossed it'll work. We're going to try it. It's kind of a little bit of a guessing game at this point still. But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on with class council. But those are going to be my conversations with them are going to be happening the end of this week and the beginning of next week. So in theory, like that last week of September, we should be ready to have our first meeting, which I'm really excited about. But otherwise, as far as first year like news goes and everything, I feel like, I don't know the interactions any of you have had, I feel like this is a really engaged class. Even like with the student involvement office, we've had people reaching out to be like, hey, I wasn't able to go to the involvement fair, or like I didn't see this club or group there, but I'm really interested, can you connect me? And we're like, yeah, please, yes. Like we don't get enough people asking us those questions. So it's really exciting that those types of things are happening already, which kind of just gives us like a good, yay, let's keep this moving. So keep an eye out for the first years, because I feel like they're wanting to get connected. Like JP was saying too, it's almost like I think they're seeking it more than like the last couple of classes have. So I think we can take advantage of that. We might just need to, just some gentle pushing here and there. So keep that in mind. But otherwise, the Amazing Experience program is doing well. If anybody doesn't know what those are, the first 4 Saturdays of the semester, we're hosting free programs for first year students to go off campus to kind of experience new things around the area that they maybe haven't done before. 2 of the 4 trips have sold out already. They've had really good attendance numbers otherwise, though, for the most part. But we've been really excited about that. So again, I think it's there. I think we might just have to poke and prod it a little bit, but just a matter of thinking back to when we were first years and kind of putting your feelers out there, being like, I don't really know what I'm doing still, but I kind of want to do something. So just try to put yourself in their shoes, and that's kind of the best thought that I can give with it. But I think those are all the major updates I have. I don't know if anybody has any questions or.
Yeah, the floor is open for questions if any of you would like to ask. All right, well,
fair enough.
Thank you for coming. I do want to say, like, I know class council is very, very much so like a stepping stone in terms of student leadership. Myself, Senator Brown, Senator Bissonnette, and Senator Godek can all attest to that, and Senator Day. So it's very, very exciting to see the progress that has happened over the past 2 years. Class council was the first thing I got involved in on campus before I joined Student Senate. And at that time, the fall semester of my first year, the 3 people that showed up at our first ever class council meeting was myself, Senator Garcia, and President LaRose. So it's very, very nice to see that it's progressed a lot, and it's very, very nice to see that we have 25 applicants for the first year council. I will have updates about the class of 2028 senators later on in the meeting, so be on the lookout for that. But I'm very, very excited, and thank you so much, Amanda Barrage, for all your hard work with helping first year students. It definitely helps improve this campus. It helps them take their steps into student leadership, and all of us are very, very much appreciative of it. And we all know that the class council program is in very good hands with you overseeing the first years. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, Bridget and I are both committed to the class councils. We want to keep seeing it grow. So we're trying to kind of like really sort of hone in on like how can we make it stronger? How can we make it more like dedicated groups and stuff? So we're gonna keep working on it.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, now we'll move into initial budget allocations, and I will hand the floor off to Treasurer Pearl.
Starting with the Construction Management Association of America. At this time, I make the recommendation that CMAA receive a level A allocation of $500.
So moved.
Second.
All right, hearing a second, I will allocate 5 minutes to this conversation, and I will hand the floor off to Treasurer Pearl.
Thank you. So these budgets were posted in Kodiak at various points throughout the last week. There's no difference between my recommendation and the requested amount. For their 2023-2024 working budget, they spent $231 out of $250. That being they started off as a starter last year, so only $19 went unspent, which is very good. And given that, I'm very confident that they'll be able to spend most, if not all, of their $500 level A allocation now that they're moving up. And the budget was very reasonable and typical for what we see with level A budget requests. It included just a lot of general events that they wanted to do, like a movie night, a networking event. They wanted to do construction Jeopardy, which I thought was interesting, a guest speaker, construction bingo, and just stuff like that. But other than that, everything looks good to me.
I do want to say really quickly, CMAA was one of the first clubs that I approved as legislative chair. It's very, very nice to see that they're still active and strong. So yeah, thank you guys for all of your hard work over the past year since your approval. I think that moving up to level A is definitely very warranted. Although it is a normal thing, you guys definitely proved it because you spent very, very well last year. The floor remains open for questions or comments. If you guys want to take this chance to promote your club, feel free as well.
Yeah, so I want to expand a little bit about a couple of the events we have. We had a construction Jeopardy event last semester as well, and that seemed to do really well. It got a bunch of different students from all different class levels together to kind of collaborate on ideas we're learning throughout all of the required courses for construction management. And this coming semester, we're actually trying to network a little bit with ASCE, the Steel Bridge Club, to do some combined events, kind of promote both clubs a little bit in the future, try to grow, reach out to more of the freshman, sophomore level classes, just to try to get some more people involved. Last year specifically, we saw some study groups emerge out of the club. People that were showing up to the club were meeting up outside to study up for some classes that were giving them some difficulty. We took some of those questions into account when we were making the Jeopardy. We added some of those questions so people could work through them together and learn while they were there as well.
Just for the secretary's record, could you state your name?
Yeah, I'm Ethan Boucher. I'm the treasurer of CMA.
All right, thank you. All right, the floor remains open for any other questions or comments. All right, seeing none, we will move into a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? All right, motion passes. Congratulations, CMAA. I can't wait to see all that you guys do. So next we will move into the initial budget allocation for the math club, and I will hand the floor off to Treasurer Paul to get this.
At this time, I make the recommendation that the math club receive a level A allocation of $480.10.
So moved.
Second.
All right, hearing a second, we move into a 5-minute conversation. I'll hand the floor back off to the Treasurer Paul.
Once again, there is no difference between my recommendation and the requested amount. As for their working budget from last year, they spent $280 out of their $500 allocation. So they did have $220 unspent, and I did ask their treasurer why this was the case. And they cited the reason of being that last year clubs were just given a set amount. It wasn't a requested amount, so they didn't need all of that. So I think that definitely reinforces my idea this year with kind of having it as a set range, so that way they can actually request what they're going to spend. So given that, I'm confident that they'll be able to spend what they requested this year. I think also decreasing that amount from just the standard 500 was good on their treasurer's part and showed a lot of diligence to the fact that last year they didn't spend everything. And when I met with them, they also indicated that this year they kind of want to take their club to the next level. They said that last year was kind of a rebuilding year for them, and there weren't a whole lot of events. And just comparing the two budgets, you can't see the difference in events that they want to do. I know in March they're planning on holding a Pi Day event. They also wanted to do an integration event, a Calc 1 event, and just a variety of different math-related events. But similar to CMAA, it's a very reasonable and typical budget request for what we see with level A's.
All right, the floor remains open for questions or comments.
Okay, I also should just mention that they do not have a representative present at this meeting, and it was something that was communicated both by the club members and the club advisor with me well in advance. All of their e-board members are in various meetings every single Tuesday, because I asked if we could wait until next Tuesday, and they said that would not be an option. So when I brought that up to President Kaufman, we both felt comfortable still approving their budget, given that they communicated that well in advance.
Yeah. All right, the floor still remains open for questions or comments. Seeing none, conversation has naturally expired, and we will move into a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion passes. I know that they're not here, but congratulations to the Math Club also. I can't wait to see all that they do, especially the Pi Day event. So next we will move into a conversation about the new Career Center meeting space. So I had a meeting with Patty Goff about that space and how clubs could possibly utilize it. And I'm excited to announce that I'm going to start working on Senate partnerships with them. And I'll be working with Chairperson Greenwood on that as well. But one of the big things that we are getting students into that space, having clubs meet in that space, having people just generally there in that space too. There's a lot of just couches and stuff sitting around there for people to just go and study. And there was a lot of investment put into it too. And it isn't a good thing that it's going underutilized right now. I'm very, very excited to announce that I received an email from Patty Goff right before our meeting today. And she said that the entire Career Center in there, the interview rooms and the conference room that they have are all available to be booked on CourseDog. So please use that to your advantage and to your club's advantages. Please reach out to clubs that are under your constituency. Let them know that that is an available meeting space. Their conference room is very, very comparable to this meeting room too. And Patty would love to see other people using it, even if they're not like directly communicating with the Career Center, but obviously they're there too. They would love to do career-related events there as well. Clubs are actively using that space, and they're probably going to run into them if they start booking that space for meetings too. So I think it's very, very big that people are aware of that. So I'll open the floor. If anyone has any suggestions for like events that you think Senate should sponsor, any ideas that you want myself and Chairperson Greenwood to look into, we can have a conversation about that now. If not, then we can bring it up again in the future. But I figured that would be an important update to share with you all, and it warranted a spot on the agenda. So are there any questions, comments about that? Yes, Senator Day.
The only comment I had was I also met with Patty yesterday about the Career Center, and she's looking to do a lot of workshops and specifically tailoring those to what students want. So if there's any clubs or organizations that you know of or that you're a part of who are looking for something specific that's in any way career related, she's willing to tailor workshops specifically to your group.
Something that we talked about too was leveraging executive board and student leadership experience in job interviews. That's something that's definitely huge, and I would like to look into specifically e-board workshops or like president's workshops. I think all of those would be very nice, and that's something that I think Senate is going to pick up on. All that's very tentative, but we're going to see. I'm going to send out some interest forms to club presidents, see where the interest is at, see if it's just them who would want something like that, or if we should make it even bigger, and start working with Patty on that. But yeah, any other questions or comments about that, Senator Goff?
I'll just say, coming from having spent my entire summer working in the admissions office and kind of seeing it all get put together with the final touches and everything, it's a beautiful space. Tours are now going in and out of there, and every tour group that's gone in and out of there that I've had so far have loved it, and they love the new area. So it is, while it is underutilized, it is a great place to just go and if you need to go and decompress over in the Career Center to do some work, you can easily do that. And it's nice in that our interview rooms are available to be booked out like that too.
Yeah. And I will say the interview rooms could work as e-board meeting spaces too. You don't need to use the conference room for something like that. They are very, very nice. So again, I could not recommend more that any of you guys, if you are interested at all in using those for any reason whatsoever, even if it's just like a Zoom call, reach out, either book it yourself on CourseDog or reach out to Patty and see what she recommends, or the people in events, Eddie and Kathy Rivet. Those two could definitely help out with that as well. But seeing no other questions or comments, and seeing that the conversation naturally expired, we will move on to Campus Center hours update. This is another update that I have for all of you. I heard student complaints, and I also made complaints myself about the Campus Center hours. The doors were locking at 5 p.m. and there's only one door that you can key into, our ID key card access into, and that's the door that's right behind us in that stairwell. And it was very inconvenient because clubs and organizations have meetings in this space up until 8 or 9, and the campus center operational hours are till 10:30 for most days. So I know myself, Alex Russo, Bridget Grimm, and a lot of other people reached out to public safety and asked if we could get this fixed. And I received confirmation from Chief Ford that it is fixed. And myself and Treasurer Peralt tested it last night. We left the Senate office at 9 o'clock after we were working on behalf of the student body and getting some business done. And we walked out of one of the doors that is not key access in, and we were able to open it. So that was very, very nice to see. It was very nice to see that the student concerns were listened to and that was fixed. So I'm sorry if that hurt like any of your club or organization attendance. I know it definitely hurt some of the things that I was a part of, and it was definitely hurt the Senate election meetings that were going on. I had to run around the campus center multiple times to unlock doors for people. People were calling my cell phone number, which is in the signature of my email, being like, I can't get in. I was like, oh, I'm in here, so I'll go let you in. So it was very, very nice to see that that was taken care of. Do we have any questions or comments about that? Okay. Next, moving into representative report structure going forward. So I want to make it public and make you all aware now about what our plans are for reports for all of you as representatives. I think it is in the best interest of all of us and handling concerns and talking about grievances and also like budgets and stuff like that, that we only do monthly reports. I'm expecting these to be a lot more higher quality because you guys have a lot more time to do them. And I'm going to be honest, there isn't an excuse to say nothing to report anymore if you have a month to do it. You should have something, even if it's been handled, say it's been handled, and talk about it, have it reported out there. The report structure in terms of like the actual document will remain the same. The only thing that I'm expecting is that there shouldn't be anything else that's just nothing to report. We want to have you guys have the opportunity to talk about your individual constituencies. So the first week of every month, I think would be the best time to do a report meeting so we can reflect on the last month. If there's any emergency things that come up and we need to have a bigger discussion about that, like I said before, I'm not afraid to push reports off, have them accepted as nonverbal reports and just put into the minutes as digitized reports, and then prioritize based off of if you guys desperately want us to have you hear your report and have a discussion about something. So wanted to put that out there to you all. Are there any questions or comments, or Vice President Souza?
With that being said, I know that many of you were new to Senate in the spring election. So you don't have much experience with the old report structure, but something that we try to like really make known is the fact that like reports, like they are extremely important when they are required. So if we are requiring a report for that meeting, like the first meeting of the month, they must be fully complete. They must have all the important information. They must be on time since you have a month to do them. If you want to submit them a week early, go for it, but they have to be on time. So I know we mentioned within the rules package at the beginning of this term, which most of you were already on Senate for, that late reports are also going to be starting to be considered marks against your attendance since it is a required function of you being a senator. And that basically means that you weren't present for your outside of chambers duties. So that's why it's attendance.
Senator Brown.
So I just want to make sure I have it straight. They'll be beginning the first meeting of the month, beginning October.
Yes.
Okay.
So the first meeting of the month for October, I don't know the exact date off the top of my head, will be our first report-based meeting.
Okay.
October 8th, thank you.
Something I've always done too, like every term I've been on Senate, like as secretary, and I'll keep doing it because it wasn't really my job as secretary, so I'll just do that one. I would make the assignments like for the entire term at the when I made the first one. So you'll be able to see hopefully I can get them in within the next 2-3 days, but with elections coming up a little busy. I'm gonna put in every single assignment folder for the entire term, so you should know now, when the December report is due, Okay, sounds good.
Any other questions or comments about reports? Okay. If anyone has any questions or needs help with those, because again, I know there was a lot of turnover with Senate between last term and this term, and all of you are still very new to reports, please reach out to myself or Vice President Souza. We can meet with you, we can call with you, we can help you with your reports going forward. If any of this was unclear, please do not be afraid to reach out to either one of us. We can definitely help out, especially in the first few reports that we plan to do.
Sorry, I keep yapping. There's a lot of like resources in the Kodiak too that I posted at the beginning of this term, and they might be there from other terms. You just have to look for it, probably type it in. But they should be there for this term of like example reports that are complete and like empty report templates. So definitely look for those and utilize those because that will give you the best report possible. And if you have any questions and like those files aren't there for whatever reason, email me or message me in any way and I can get those back up there.
All right. Are there any more questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, conversation has naturally expired. We will be moving on to visitors' comments. Are there any visitors' comments? All right. We will now move into executive reports. So we'll go ahead and start with the finance chairperson.
Just a couple things to report for this week. The first being, over the course of the past week, I have been working with the state of spiders on an additional allocation request of $1,815.75. So for their budget that we approved over the summer for this upcoming year, they have requested $20,395. And my recommendation and what they ultimately were allocated was $15,000. And that was because at the time, we believed that they had about $5,400 of revenue that was currently sitting in their account. So basically that revenue was going to be used to subsidize my recommendation of a lower amount. And then over the summer, as the fiscal year came to a close, we learned that they only had $3,500 in revenue. So basically the amount that we were given to them as an additional allocation is just simply an account correction because we didn't have the updated information we thought at the time. And that's why you didn't see it back to Student Senate on the agenda, is because we already approved the budget. So we're just funding the part that was cut from revenue. So if anyone has any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to talk to you more about that. Another thing is we had talked last term towards the end with President Alvord about the new funding policy for Senior Week. I've been working with the class of 2025 on getting an estimate for their Senior Week funding amount. And the final amount for that, we should have that by the end of the month. We're currently just waiting on final enrollment numbers from the registrar's office. So definitely look forward to that on the agenda, probably the last meeting of September or the first meeting of October. I'm also currently working with the Sport Management Association on their budget, so I hope to see that on next week's agenda as well. And then the last thing I will say is President Kaufman and I visited Student Involvement's Club Officer training last night. And at the beginning, we spoke just from a Student Senate perspective about like our expectations and kind of rules of Senate. And I think an important thing I noted there that I also want to note here, both for sake of live stream and for minutes, is that for clubs and organizations that have already received their budget allocations, whether that was in April, May, or at any point throughout September, if they fail to submit their activation packet before the due date, their budget will be frozen until that activation packet has been submitted. So if you start hearing about clubs and orgs who had gotten allocations and now their account is frozen all of a sudden, feel free to just guide them to fill out that activation packet from Student Involvement. And then another situation, kind of like the flip side of that, is sometimes we'll get activation packets submitted and there's no budget yet. And sometimes it's difficult to reach out to treasurers. So I guess I would just ask all senators, if you know of anyone who's currently looking for an allocation for their club that hasn't gotten one yet, feel free to send them my way. I think we only have about 15 or 20 clubs left that we just have not heard from yet, and I'm trying my best to track them down, but it's hard not knowing who's on their executive board. But I'm hoping that within the next couple weeks, we can finally get all of these clubs squared away. Yeah, I think that's all I have to report.
All right. Next, I'll hand the floor out to the chairperson of Maya.
So I've begun reaching out to clubs that need either updates or revisions. I've also gotten some emails back, so that's great. I received a revised version of the CMAA Constitution. I'm currently reviewing it, so please be on the lookout for that on the Kodiak and potentially on the agenda next Tuesday. Tomorrow I have a meeting with the Rocketry Club to go over some potential constitution changes. Also, Tessa Rodriguez reached out to me interested in starting a pickleball club. So if that's something that you or someone else you know is interested in, please reach out to her. And the First Robotics Club is active and looking to rebrand itself this semester. They're seeking to change their name and purpose, so also be on the lookout for that in the Kodiak. So that's your report.
Yeah, I just want to jump in real quick because I was at, as Treasurer Brault says, I was at the club officer training last night. I did touch on constitutions a little bit and following rules, just as he stated. But I focus more on the constitutional side of it. We've seen a lot recently and in the past term groups just taking their constitution and then just changing it and putting it into effect without reaching out to the legislative committee when it says blatantly at the bottom of every single constitution that it needs to be approved by student senate. And there are reasons for that. For example, when groups activate, if they don't have a full e-board, then they can't activate. We will not give them a budget allocation. So if they go and attempt to add 10 executive board positions and they only have 12 members total, including those executives, we're going to try and steer them away from that to avoid a situation in the future where they're not going to get activated if their membership drops below that threshold. We don't want that to happen. We don't want to be the bad guys in those scenarios. But when they go and do changes like that without talking to us first, that's problems that will come up. So along with that, any other like constitutional violation or just any other change that they might make outside of the e-board are huge no-nos. We need to stop doing that. The groups cannot do that. There's a reason why Senate has authority over that and looks over that, and it's to avoid situations like that. So please reach out to clubs and organizations that you work with. Let them know that they are not allowed to do that. If you've heard that like they added an e-board position over the summer, ask them if they did it the right way and went to Senate first, because we find out oftentimes a month or two after. And I don't want to start freezing budgets for that, but we're going to start doing it. It happens way too much. It needs to stop. So that is that for legislative, sorry. But next we will move into or are there any questions or comments about that too? I know that's a very, very strong statement to make, but it happens way too often. And it's a violation of the rules. So we need to take a stance on it. Okay. Next we'll move into the campus relations chair.
I have nothing to report this week, but hopefully by next week we'll have some things in the works.
All right. Then we will move into the public relations.
I have nothing to report, but I just want to say that I look forward to working with you all, and I do have some ideas. Like so far, like I want to do like a lot of club connections. Me and President Kaufman have talked about doing a Senate Cares connection, so I'm looking into stuff like that. And I hope I do you all well.
All right. Next, we will move into liaison and special committee reports. So we will start with the election committee. I will hand the floor out to Vice President Souza to talk about absentee voting first.
Okay. So yeah, I'm sure that some of you have seen the Kodiak tools, but if you haven't, that's fine because I'm going to explain it. In Senate executive board meetings, we've been talking about this a lot, even in past years, and we finally decided to go forward with absentee, like electronic voting for like as a one component of the election. So obviously we'll still have in-person table sitting, and I will get that spreadsheet out of what times that you are signed up for table sitting today, right after this meeting, actually. But we're also during the same exact time frame, 9 to 4, having electronic voting be an option. So I made a code or the little post.
You post.
Yeah. Yes. I made a post saying that anyone who's interested needs to register with either myself or President Kaufman, because we want to make sure it's as secure as possible. So if I just post a link somewhere, anyone could vote for anything. We want to avoid that. So we have that open until I believe it was tomorrow at 5 p.m. And then after we get all of the names of everybody who is electronically voting, we will send only those people the electronic voting form. And then for all of those forms too, we're going to be checking to make sure they're only voting for their constituency that they are part of, same as we would with a regular election. There's going to be the same checks and balances on everything. We just wanted to provide this option because for people like upperclassmen who have internships or commuters, it's been difficult, and sometimes people have expressed like that they're upset that they haven't got an opportunity to vote. So we wanted to open up an opportunity for everybody to be able to vote. So that's the part of the update. It's going to be on a Microsoft form too. That way it's like secure and can like be within like W&E email addresses. So that's another important part.
Yeah, we were talking about a lot of changes with this upcoming election. I know President Albor, when he chaired the committee at the end of last term, tried to do some changes, and I wanted to expand upon that too. I want to thank Jess Hill for giving us this idea and really pushing for it to happen. We both agreed with it, and I'm happy that it is happening. So far, we only had one person sign up for it, but just having it as an option is a huge step in the right direction. And I want to encourage all of you who are available to work at the polling stations to do it. That way you don't have to worry about voting. You can just go to the polling station. It's convenient to do it either way, but you can get that electronically and just get that done and not have to worry about voting and then walking around and then sitting down at the polling station right after you vote. So I do recommend that all of you who are working on election day and helping out, just go ahead and do that. Next, I wanted to talk about finalized ballots. So Vice President Souza and I have been working on the ballots that will be handed out. And I'm very, very happy to report that I believe if my numbers are correct, there are 16 people running for uncontested seats. So we will be adding 16 new senators to the Student Senate next week, which is a huge step in the right direction. There's a reason why that was at the top of the 100-day agenda. I wanted this organization to grow, and I think that we definitely accomplished that with this election. So I'm very, very, very excited for that. There were very, very, very small issues with the petition process. Obviously, we still have to get through the campaigning process, and all the candidates have been informed that they need to follow those rules or else there will be consequences. But assuming everything goes well, there will be 16 new senators with us next week. I have more updates about that, but I'm going to save them for like my little comments that I give during senators' comments after you guys are all done. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I do want to say after this election, we are not going to deactivate the election committee because I have some very, very exciting news. Margaret Boyle reached out to myself and Vice President Souza about a voting drive for the November 4th election. And we will be working with her to get that going on campus. There's a group in Springfield that does most of the work for us, and we just need people to like help staff anything that we do on campus. This group will come to campus and help people register to vote and get all that stuff done. So because of that, we're going to keep the election committee activated for that purpose too. And if any of you are interested in helping out, please let us know. We're going to put together a list. We'll send it over to Margaret. She'll hopefully be able to give us more information. But I believe in her email to us, she said that the drive will be happening on the week of October 7th, hopefully. So because of that, we're going to start working on that, make sure that happens. I know this was something that Vice President Riley actually worked on a lot last term and was talking to people about. I'm happy to see that this has come to fruition, and I'll be reaching out to him later to see if he wants to help out with it too, because it was something that he was very, very passionate about. So yeah, that's another huge update about the election committee. Sorry it wasn't on the agenda, but I found out about it this morning. So very excited to share that news with all of you. I hope all of us will be able to help out with that. Are there any questions or comments? Yeah.
I have an update as well about like the Student Senate election. I know last meeting we touched on the fact that due to numbers there is a possibility of a primary, and I just wanted to give the update that we will no longer be having a primary. The sole election will be this Thursday, because even though we have a ton of people running for Senate, which is awesome, they kind of were able to like spread themselves out amongst different constituencies, so they're uncontested seats, therefore we don't need to have a primary.
Yeah.
Just wanted to update you guys on that. So there's only one election day you guys have to work.
And as promised, I did communicate that to all the candidates by Friday the 13th. I sent them an email at like 9 o'clock at night saying there's no primary, don't worry about it. Campaigns and stuff like that are following the same election timeline as it was written on the packet. So yeah. So seeing any more questions or comments about that, Okay, seeing none, we will move into representative reports. When I asked in the group me, one senator said that they would like to give impromptu report, so I will hand the floor off to Senator Day to give a report on the college business.
1 second. I had a meeting with Dean Walker last week, and she sent me some important updates that she wanted to let us know about that haven't already happened yet. So Mass FinTech, their hub career fair is going to be in Boston on October 2nd. So the College of Business is going to be sponsoring a bus for any students who are interested in attending that. And more information will be posted about that. I'm assuming in UPost as it gets closer to that date. And then there's going to be a FinTech demo day on September 26th, where both investors and venture capitalists will attend and look into the projects that have been done by Western New England students over the summer, because the FinTech program was something big that was done here over the summer. And then the last update she had for us was on Thursday, September 26th at noon. The CEO of Beacon Advisors and the former EVP of Home Depot is going to be coming to meet with business students and other students who are interested in business, and we'll be hosting a lunch. I believe that'll be in the conference room in University Commons. So yeah, those are my updates.
Any other updates on college business?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so next we move on to senators' comments. Are there any senators' comments? Yes, Senator.
So regarding the trick or treat, we have a confirmed date. That's going to be November 1st, which is the Friday after Halloween. So very excited about that. And I've so far heard from 2 individuals who are interested in joining the committee. So
Nice. Very, very excited to see that there's progress going on with that. Are there any other senators' comments? Senator?
This is more of a question. I saw the post about the GURs in the group meet. Is that something that will be in the next agenda?
That's to be determined. I need to continue reaching out with Professor Mazar. I did say last meeting that I don't plan to have him come back to another Senate general meeting, but I am trying to either get him to meet with the executive board or try and set up a time outside of Senate where him, the other professors working on it, and senators and e-board members would be free. And if that happens, I will publicly announce that. I'll try my best to get you as much notice as possible. But I did release a form, and thank you for bringing that up into the group meet. Please fill that out. All of us have to take GUR, so all of you should have at least something to say about them. So it's something that literally everyone at this university has to take, and they are different across colleges too. I tried my best to keep it as general as possible and have you guys like kind of explain how it works in your program, but then also like hit the points on the key ones that everyone uses. Obviously, like English and the labs are here to stay. So I didn't like focus too much about that. But the other ones were all in there too, and you could make comments about those too as well. But if you have any questions or comments about those and you want me to share any information with Professor Mazar, or if you guys would like to attend a meeting with him and talk with him about GURs, please reach out. I might send a little sign-up form too. In addition to that, it's just a matter of logistics and us working with him about that. Are there any other senators' comments or questions about that? Okay. I do have a couple quick updates before we leave. First off, Fresh Check Day was a huge success. I stopped by out there, and I want to thank Senator Brown and Senator Bronson for volunteering very last second to help out there and representing Student Senate very, very well there. Speaking of both of those two senators, I know I announced Senator Bronson was going to go to the Governor's Roundtable, but Senator Brown is also going to that Governor's Roundtable in Boston, so that's very, very exciting. Like I said before, I know both of you will represent the students of Western New England very, very well at a meeting like that, so thank you very much for going out there and doing that. Club officer training, like myself and Treasurer Peralt mentioned, happened last night, but there's also going to be a video posted on the Student Leadership Kodiak, which all of you should be in. I've been talking with Director Grimm about this, and I recommend that all of you take some time to watch that video. Even if you're not a club officer, it's very, very important that the senators all of you guys know all those resources and are able to answer questions for your constituents about that. You don't need to know it down to a T, but just have a general knowledge about some of the general rules, some of the changes between this year and last year would help out significantly. And it's definitely just good to have that information like commonly known amongst all of us, because if we talk about any of that information at these meetings, you all will be well informed about it, because things like that will definitely come up if there's ever an issue. For next meeting, and this is also an update about elections, because we're having 16 people join our Senate. We will be having our next Senate meeting in U Commons 411, which is the 4th floor of the dining hall. It is typically used as a classroom, but there is streaming capabilities in there and enough seating for all of us. So I'm very, very excited that we will be in there. This is hopefully just a temporary location, just so we can fit everyone. Myself and Treasurer Peralt last night were trying to put as many seats at this table as possible. That's why you guys are a little like crammed in together today. And we could not hit the 32 mark, which is how many people will be sitting at this table next Tuesday. But U Commons 411 will definitely. I'm in there for the first year seminar course for peer advising. Of course, I'm a PA for, and there's a lot of room there. We can move the tables around very easily. So it will definitely function very well for a Senate meeting temporarily. Myself and Chairperson Cloutier will be working on a fix and a permanent solution. But I just think it's a very, very good thing, or a very, very good problem to have, that this organization has grown significantly to the point where we have outgrown our own chambers. So that's just a very, very exciting update to have, and I'm very, very excited for that. I did say earlier when Amanda Barrage was speaking that we have class of 2028 senators coming in, so both of those seats will be filled. As we said, there are no contested elections, but that's also very exciting. On top of having 25 people apply for their class council, we have 2 student leaders who will be joining the Senate to represent their class. So I'm very, very excited for that too. But yeah, that is all of the comments that I have. Are there any other final comments for today? All right, seeing none, I move to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, we'll do a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? All right.
Are you going back to the door?
Wanda, thank you for
Oh,
grabbing me.
So 4:40.
Oh, are you in learning?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad, I put
3-hour lecture with Sharon.
That's not bad.
Sean should be here, so thank God. Because I'm trying to make sure we budget for it because of the other. I don't want to say that. I was getting ready to go to the. Oh. Have like a little one-on-one with Sean.
That and the video that they're gonna post.
Because like they're not worried about me.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So I didn't know.
Yeah.
So like, Penny, I do want to talk about.
They would hire them.
So if you want me to like write something for that for the report, I can tell you. I know you have a.
Yeah.
Something for you, at the end of every meeting, if you're done that. Well, I was just gonna go do it myself, but.
I think I But